How's it going, guys? Cdew here, and I'm going to be doing another video with skill caps, and this week we are going to be doing a tier list reaction. So recently we got a few changes that were potentially enough to shake up the meta a little bit, and we made a solo shuffle tier list, and I'm going to be reacting to that tier list and letting you guys know if I agree or disagree with it, and I want to hear what you guys think. I'm going to kick it off with the melee. So in the melee, we have S tier labeled as Unholy DK, Demon Hunter, Survival Hunter, Ret, and Fury Warrior. I'm going to have to say I think that's pretty spot on. I feel like anytime I fight any of those classes, I think they feel pretty lethal, especially in a solo shuffle situation where dampening is ramping up pretty high. In the lower tier, the middle tier, we have Windwalker, Arms, Assassin, Frost DK, Feral Druid, and Enhancement Shaman. And I'm going to have to say, I think this is probably also pretty spot on. I think Windwalkers are pretty lethal, but I don't think they're quite at that S tier. Arms Warrior also seems pretty lethal, but not quite at that S tier. Assassin, I think, kind of depends on comp, and also they're not as tanky as some of those other classes in the S tier. Frost DK took a very, very big nerf with the Frost Strike nerf with the talent that they got. Feral Druids, I think, are a little bit more about ramping up. I don't think that their type of damage is what is needed in solo shuffle right now. Sometimes they could just absolutely destroy people with Incarn, but it feels like they're one of those attrition classes that the longer the game goes on, the better off they are. And if they're not getting to that second Incarn and building that momentum with the game being as fast as it is right now, they're definitely not going to shine. And Enhancement Shaman has pretty strong one-shot potential, quite a bit of damage, but still a little bit weaker on the defensive, and maybe not quite as powerful as classes in the S tier. Enhancement Shaman healing to itself is pretty good, but yeah, still probably not quite as tanky as those S tier classes. And then I think this is absolutely true. Sub-Rogue in 3v3 right now, outside of solo shuffle, is not performing that well, and it should be performing better in regular 3s than solo shuffle. And if it's not performing better in regular 3s, or if it's not performing well in regular 3s, it's definitely not going to do great in solo shuffle. People just kind of randomly throw out stun DRs whenever they want. That is a pure setup class, and it's always going to struggle in solo shuffle a little bit, especially with, like, since the removal of Shadowy Duel, they kind of lost one of their win conditions. And I think Outlaw has crazy CC, but it is doing Season 1 damage. This class feels like it just does not hurt people. It is a full enabling class. Think of it almost like an AUG Evoker, but it does less damage than an AUG Evoker. So I would say the melee tier list looks absolutely spot on. I don't think I would change a single thing about it. If I had to crown one king of the melee, it would probably be Ret Paladin. And I'm not a Ret Paladin hater, but statistically speaking, I think that they are the most represented class right now. And the abilities that they have in Solo Shuffle are just so crazy. They have Magic Bop, you go completely immune. They have Bubble, you go completely immune. They have Lay on Hands, you're immune to, it ignores healing reduction effects. So the Ret Paladin class design is just phenomenal. I should say their defensive kit is phenomenal in Solo Shuffle, if you know how to use it. Sometimes you get those Ret Paladins that like having that cosmetic sank, if you know what I'm talking about, to all my healers out there. Moving on to the range list, we have Boomkins in the S tier, Devastation in the S tier, BM in the S tier, and Ellie in the S tier. I would say I respect those choices. I think all those can definitely be S tier classes. I would say Boomkin in Shuffle and BM Hunter in Shuffle are probably, in my personal opinion, stronger than Dev and Ellie. Ellie is one of those attrition classes where it kind of amounts pressure over time. I think it's probably stronger in like those like dampeny 3s than in solo shuffle. Overall, pretty good class, doing pretty powerful damage right now. One of the weaker things I think about Ellie right now is I feel like melee melee are really good right now, and I feel like Ellie kind of has a tough time when melee are good. They just kind of stand there and just, you know, get beat down. But definitely still better than the classes, you know, lower than them. Devastation, great mobility, great damage, and BM Hunter, I would suggest BM Hunter is going to take a nerf on Fenrir. All three Hunter specs right now, in my opinion, are S tier. I would personally move Marksman Hunter up from that from that mid tier to the S tier. I think every single spec of Hunter right now, it doesn't matter which one I face, they feel completely interchangeable, and every single one is amazing. Shadow Priest and Affliction and Demo have a pretty difficult time ramping up their damage right now. Melee being so good, they kind of connect. Arcane, I think, It's probably above Aug, I'll give him that, but I think Arcane's pretty bad. I think Frost is pretty bad, and I think Fire is actually good. Not good enough to go to S tier, because it feels like they do literally nothing until they combust, but combust is a really, really scary cooldown. And out of all these casters in the mid, I kind of randomly feel like Destro might actually be the best. It feels like every Chaos Bolt's like 6 to 7 mil. They kind of get torn apart a little bit, but out of all those casters, I think I'm most afraid to fight the Destro right now. And in the S tier column, I would probably put BM Hunter at the top, just because the Fenrir pet that comes out is crazy. That thing does, I think, literally 1 to 2 million DPS when that bleed procs, and it could just completely end games. It's complete RNG, and I would expect that one to get nerfed. Then obviously Aug down there all by himself, you know, looking for some friends. And yeah, definitely bottom tier. You don't really see too many Augs right now. Moving on to the healer list. I like what I see here. Resto Shaman in that S tier. We do love seeing that. Preservation in that S tier. Disc has been bumped up to the S tier. Paladin, Holy Priest, R Druid in the middle tier. And Mistweaver Monk taking one of the biggest nerfs of all time. And getting 0 compensation. It's honestly kind of criminal, but I mostly agree with this list. The only thing I would say is, from what I've been experiencing right now, Holy Priest feels very good. I think Holy Priest might be switched with Disc Priest, where Disc should be in the middle tier and Holy should be number 1, but I could definitely see a world where I think both of them are pretty good. But moving into the 3v3 bracket, I think Holy Priest just kind of has the edge over Disc Priest right now, based off that extra CC that it has available. So I would say that Holy's maybe slightly ahead of Disc overall, but I could see both of them in the S tier category. Disc does feel really powerful in Shuffle. I haven't fought any Void Weaver specifically, and I haven't played too much of it itself, but I've heard really good things about that spec right now. Obviously, Holy Paladin is a little lackluster. They've taken a ton of nerfs this expansion, and they've been really good for a couple seasons, so I don't know how much love they're going to get. Resto Druid, Hots just aren't enough right now, and if you look at the 4 top classes that I think are S tier, all of them have Purge. That is the natural predator to Resto Druids. The top 4 healers right now can remove your ability to heal, so obviously Resto Druids are going to have a little bit of a difficult time. And Mistweavers, you know, they got the 50% damage nerf on Rushing Wind Kick, which is, hey, fine, you know, let's just play Crackle. Well, Blizzard decided in this patch that you literally need to play Kick in order to get instant Vivify. So if that got reverted, I can maybe see Crackle Mistweaver doing okay, but after the Mastery nerf, after the Kick nerf, after the instant Vivify nerf, I don't know, man. Mistweavers are in a world of hurt right now. I feel like they need some serious love, but the reality is they probably also need just kind of a redesign, especially for PvP. It feels like they're in PvE, they're so based around kind of like this fist weaving stuff that they kind of are just like an afterthought with how they heal. Resto Shaman's had this problem for a really long time, where all of their healing is, hey, healing rain and stuff like that, chain heal, and all those heals are super powerful, but you can't use them in PvP, so it ends up feeling kind of bad. So out of the Kingpin class in that S tier, this is a really tough one. In solo shuffle, man, I'm going to kind of say I would probably go with Preservation. I think Shaman is very good. I think out of those 4 classes, Shaman is the best overall healer, but it also has no damage. It's probably going to have the least crowd control, and I think Preservation also kind of beats Shaman pretty, I don't want to say pretty easily, but it does pretty well into Shaman, based on the fact that when they get that NS breath off and they remove the Riptides and they remove the Earth Shields, it's so difficult to come back from that. But there's kind of a rock, paper, scissor theory going on here, where I actually feel like Disc is kind of good into Preservation. When Preservation pushes in for that CC, you have the Fade, you have the Death, you could put them in the Void Tendrils, and you could try to get some fears on them with Chastise. So you could kind of fight back with CC when it doesn't feel like Shaman could really fight back that well into the CC. But I think Preservation is very powerful right now. One of the most powerful spots it's been in, definitely in the entire expansion, but you know, possibly the last 2 expansions combined. They just do so much damage right now. Their healing is really good. Their biggest weakness for Preservation, and this is also with Disc, is mana, and that's just not really an issue in solo shuffle. So I would like to hear what you guys think in the comments about, you know, what you think about this tier list. If you agree, if you disagree, if you would change certain classes around, and even if you agree with the tier list, what you think that kingpin class is, you know, the top of the S tier. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this reaction video to the Solo Shuffle tier list. Would love to know what you guys think in the comments, and thank you very much for watching.